welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Blazer Victory Podcast. John Duncan here, and I'm joined as always with my co-host Darian Smith. And Darian, I wish we had more good things to talk about, but unfortunately, didn't get it done these last three games. They were able to get UAB was able to get one out of the three on the road at Louisiana Tech, but they do lose at home to Western Kentucky Wednesday night, and then they lose Monday night on Martin Luther King Day to Middle Tennessee in overtime. But you and I were talking earlier today. Of course, we're going to have some negative things to say. I mean, that's the name of the game. There was some ugly basketball there, but and you came up with the title of this episode. How much does almost count, Darian? I don't think we're crazy to say that this team is so close to finally putting it all together, getting the puzzles to fit, to make the puzzle. Like, people need to realize that these last two games in particular, like, they were without the nation's leading scorer, Jordan Jelly Walker, and he gets hurt late in that game in Bartow last Wednesday against Western Kentucky. Who's to say, Darren, if he doesn't get hurt late in that game, he nails one of those shots at the end and is able to pull it. UAB is able to pull it out in Bartow. But I get the negativity. I see it. I know the players see it. I know the coaches see it all over Twitter, Facebook, yada yada, message boards, whatever. But honestly, Darren, they're so close to just getting this on the right track. They are so close.
Yeah, and like you said, I know they see the criticism. A lot of it is deserved. It is deserved. It is a lot of context that, unfortunately, when we're talking about wins and losses, it's a lot of context that needs to be taken into account. But with wins and losses, it can't be that way. Wins and losses are black and white.
Right.
There's not gray. There's not a dissertation that's attached along to say, hey, when you lost, well, this is exactly what happened. It was almost. It doesn't. It isn't that way. But I can say this. I can put it this way. If I say one guy has made, he's only missed 3 of 10 field goals, and the other guy has missed 8 of 10 field goals. Well, you're going to automatically think the guy that missed 8 field goals is horrible.
Right.
But what if I tell you 7 of those 8 were actually blocked, and he has a line in front of them they are all 5'5", 130-pound guys, and they just get ran over. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, why didn't you tell me that? Well, that's what I'm kind of going here. It's like, once you kind of dive into it, like you said, Jelly's been missing, and the team has been so close in a lot of instances, and we'll go into detail, but there's little things here and there. You can probably go into each and every game, but there are worrisome things in these losses. There are worrisome things that's happening. It's kind of like a pattern that's happening. It's almost like the football team, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't make it any less frustrating. I'll tell you that.
It doesn't, especially with the talent that UAB has on this basketball team, like the high expectations that we had, that the media put on this UAB team, that Andy Kennedy and the team had for themselves. Like, yeah, it's not going the way that the UAB fans were hoping it would go. But hey, you look at those 2 losses. Western Kentucky, you lose by 2 points, 80-78. You look at Monday night's game, you lose in overtime by 1 point, just a split hair of a second away from Ty Brewer getting that shot off and winning it for UAB, but just barely, just wasn't able to get it off in time. So, I mean, you look at that, like, they are so close. And you look at, hey, go back to Ruston, Louisiana Tech on Saturday, 81-74 UAB wins over Louisiana Tech in Ruston, which that is a hard place to win, and UAB certainly knows about that. But UAB was able to get it done there. But it's just the game. Like, you look at the Western Kentucky game. Let's just start there. 80-78, UAB loses. you look at UAB didn't shoot the ball all that well, but they still shot it better than they did the next couple of games, but for 43%. But you look at those turnovers, man. 14 turnovers, and the free throws, 18 of 28 from the line. Like, you just make a couple more of those free throws, and you don't turn the ball over late in the game, and I feel like it's a different contest. UAB pulls it out at home in Bartow, and we said it before. I think we said it last week, Darian, that it seems that when this team gets in like very tight situations towards the end of ball games, they kind of get nervous and just kind of fall apart. In a way, it does kind of seem like that happened against Western Kentucky last Wednesday, but it didn't happen the next two games. Like, you look at Louisiana Tech, dominating effort on the boards, getting just offensive rebounds, man. Like, they really took it to Tech on the boards, getting 21 offensive rebounds, just to Louisiana Tech getting 8 offensive rebounds. Like, they took it to them on the boards. And you look at the Middle Tennessee game. Hey, they had 27 offensive rebounds, UAB did, compared to just 9 from Middle Tennessee. Now, granted, UAB couldn't shoot the ball all that well. 31% from the field in that game, and in Louisiana Tech, 37%. So you can say all you want, but without Jordan Jelly Walker on that court, it does make things kind of awkward, at least for this team, for offensive rhythm and flow. So, yeah, they definitely struggled without Jelly. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
I think we've been struggling with identity since the beginning of the year. I think we've been struggling to figure out, especially with our backcourt dynamics, how do we mix all our ingredients in? And like, we got all these top tier ingredients, but this is a hamburger seasoning. This is a seafood seasoning. Oh no, this is for tacos. It's all good food, and we in a good kitchen. It's like, is this the right ingredients we need for this to flourish? So what I mean by is, like, a lot of times late in the game is when you lean on your identity that you've created offensively to get buckets. So, you look at certain teams and they are very disciplined in the sets they run. They're trying to accomplish something, and you can tell what they're trying to accomplish. Are they trying to get this player open, or are they trying to get this player to operate in space? Are they trying to get this athlete on a mismatch? Like, the big guy, they're trying to, they're going to use their big man because of his offensive repertoire. I honestly don't know when it gets tight. I don't know what our identity is. So in the middle 8 of the game, it's free flowing. You can get buckets in transition. You can get buckets on putbacks, and you have some identity of certain guys like show up. Like, it's certain things that you can tell that some guys are really good at. Like, for instance, Ty Brewer in that mid-range area, he's very good. He make jumpers all the time in that mid-range area. You can tell that's his sweet spot. Mm-hmm. Javian Davis, he has a very refined post game. So you can actually throw him the ball when everything is chaotic. You can throw him the ball and he can get you a bucket in the post. Trey Jemison, he's good on putbacks, and he can get you a bucket on a mismatch. He doesn't have a good offensive repertoire. As far as like dumping it off to him.
I hate that hook shot. I hate it.
But to me, he's very much a pick and roll big. Like, he can clean up. He's just been really good, and I'll get to him in a second. But he knows his role. I can go down, like, Ladarius Brewer is he is not a good initiator. Like, you're not gonna give the ball to Ladarius Brewer and say, all right, let's create, give me a bucket like Jelly. Mm-mm. But if you take a Jelly on your team and you put him in the pick and roll action, and it's swung to Ladarius Brewer. Ladarius is great at catching the ball at the wing, either shooting at 3 or attacking the closeout, which is in when the defensive player runs out to him, he can make a decision. Do I need to go ahead and let this fly, or do I need to drive it in? Do I need to pull up? Do I need to drive it all the way in, take it to the rim? He's very good in those situations. But there are a couple players that I'm wondering, like, what exactly is your role? And I think the number one guy that's really still trying to find it is Eric Gaines.
Yeah.
So I think that's why a lot of times in when it's crunch time, and you see this if you watch the NBA, you'll kind of see it with like Russell Westbrook, who's been good this year, but in crunch time, you can do things defensively to take him out the game. When it bogs down and you key in on every single guy out there, and you got to depend on something like Golden State, they can run screens, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry. You know what you're gonna get. You know what you can. You know certain teams like Greek Freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's gonna get downhill. He's gonna finish through contact. All you got to do is get him going in transition, get him going on the pick and roll. What are we trying to do at UAB? Is if when I look at that game the other day, I can tell you I can see Eric kind of struggling trying to find his role. You know, that's why if you just watch him, sometimes he tends to get caught in the air a lot.
Yeah.
And he'll turn the ball over.
And looking to get bailed out with a foul.
Yeah,
you are not gonna get that on the road, man.
Right, he'll get caught in the air. You can see him trying to process what decision he should make. And I thought that without Jelly, that maybe he'll be able to find out what he's good and what he's better at. But he really needs help on seeing, because he's not that jump shooter. He's athletic. He can finish at the rim some, but he's still only 6'2", like 6'1", 6'2". So no matter how many hops, as you can see, when he took number 12 on from Middle Tennessee, he got rejected. I mean, because number 12 is a good 6'6", 6'7", athletic shot blocker. You know, so it's like you're not LeBron, right? LeBron can take people on at the hoop, and I'm not throwing that as a pun, but it's just as a comparison. LeBron can take people on at the hoop because he's strong and 6'9" with athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
Jelly has his move. Jelly knows his spots. He knows where he's gonna get to. One thing about Eric I see too also is like on those pick and rolls, he needs to refine his handle some. Like he tends to get kind of loosey-goosey with the ball.
Yes.
And be ripped. Yes. So it's like he's not a pure point guard all the way. He's more of a combo guard. And I think it's just tough for him. Like, it's like, where is my spots? Is it the mid-range? What is his go-to? I don't think anybody can tell me what his go-to is. You know, we had back in the past in UAB basketball, we had Aaron Squeaky Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron, his first thing was as a point guard, he was the general, right?
Mm-hmm.
He got players lined up. He knew how to get players the ball in their spot. He knew how to get down. He knew what he wanted to accomplish. And if he had the ball in his hands, you knew there was going to be a goal. You knew something good was going to happen. Hey, give it to him and let him operate. When the ball is given to Eric, I kind of hold my breath.
Me too.
Because you don't know what's gonna. It might be something good because he gets in the lane. Sometimes he make these good dump off passes, like on the pass that Trey Jemison got fouled on.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that in a minute. Yeah.
but that was Eric getting off into the lane, and he made a good pass. Like, I'm like, there you go. And he has to like refine his pure point guard skills if that's his game. If that's not your game, what is your game? You know, and I think Taven Lovin, for whatever reason, being experienced as he is, he's been struggling with that this year, and that might be the roster construction of this team. Offensively, he's been struggling with that. Tony is another guy offensively. He's a great energy guy. He makes stuff happen defensively and with his energy, but when the game bogs down, what is Tony did? What is he gonna accomplish on offense? Is he a corner 3 guy? Is he a cut offensive rebounder guy? I can tell you with Michael Ertl. I can tell you with Jelly Walker. I can tell you with Quan Jackson. That team from last year, I can tell you what their roles were and what they were trying to do. Mm-hmm. Especially late in the game. I don't know Trey Jemison was leading us in points. Like we were leaning on him offensively.
Oh yeah, had a career high, 18 points at middle. Yeah.
Yeah, was it 20? I thought it was 20.
It was 8. I think it was 18. Hold on,
Oh,
let me look.
Well, 18, 20, it don't matter. But we late in the game, we were like throwing it down to Trey and like telling Trey to get us buckets. Hey, I know Trey balled out.
He did.
But that is not Trey's game. That is not Trey's game at all. Like we shouldn't be throwing it now. Javian Davis, that's different. Javian that's his game. Like he can get you buckets. That's what he does. That is not Trey Jemison, we was like depending on KJ buffing threes, and that's not KJ's game. He can take them. I don't want him taking those and make a miss. That's not. But I just think we were looking where we are kind of looking for identities for a lot of guys offensively. It's funny because I thought we were so behind defensively in the beginning of the season, in which we still got some things defensively, but we showed the ability to kind of crack down, okay, and we can get some stops. I still don't understand. I know it's a reason why we do that 1-3-1 zone. I personally don't like it, but I'm pretty sure the coaching staff there's a reason.
Yeah, they have to mix it in some.
Y'all know it's kind of like our base defense. Like it's like a base defense until somebody pointed out on Twitter. I can't remember who it was. It was like until under 10 seconds, and then we go to man when it's under 10 seconds. I don't know why we do it because I think it's so much of a gamble. Oftentimes we get hit with a lob or open three where we end up with three guys on one person and somebody's wide open in the corner. I'm like, golly, this is when I played football, we used to have this blitz. Defense hated this blitz. It was called Maka. Maka was like all out blitz.
Mm-hmm.
We used to get our ass burned every single time doing the Maka blitz. Defense hated it. Every time I heard that, I was like, oh, here we go, Maka. Then we finna get scored on. And that's kind of how I kind of see now. The 1-3-1, they've been doing this kind of way more successful than that because they do get some turnovers and stuff out of it. But I feel like more oftentimes than not, it's a three or it's a lob or somebody is able to get to the rim. It's so much of a gamble. But anyway, at least we have that as a identity on defense. It's something that we at least know that we do. And offensively, I just struggle knowing late in the games if it's tight. I struggle having confidence in knowing what this team gonna do. Aside from doing a pick and roll, maybe Jelly step back three when he's available to play, or maybe Jelly making a play. I don't know what we do offensively. I just don't know.
I mean, I agree with you, but I do want to give Kennedy and coaching staff credit for that last play they drew up at the end of overtime because they had Brewer wide open. They just got it to him a little too late. So I feel like that was a good play call. But to, agree with you, like a lot of these late game, FAU, WKU, like these losses at the end of the game, you're wondering like, what is UAB doing? Like, you go back to the Western Kentucky game where, Jelly's looking to the sideline at Kennedy to get a play call in and doesn't see one. So he hurries up and jacks a 3-point instead of working and getting a good play in. Like it is frustrating to watch at times. But and by the way, it was Trey Jemison it was career 18 points, 11 rebounds. So I did get that for sure. But so how much does almost count? Because like we can talk all day about, we almost beat Middle Tennessee, we almost beat Western Kentucky, we almost beat FAU at FAU, almost shoulda, coulda, woulda, whatever. The thing is, you dropped 4 games in conference play, so you're sitting at 4-4. It's not the end of the world. You're not going to get an at-large bid. That was gone last week. So you're just playing to get better to March for the Conference USA tournament in Frisco, Texas. Your goal right now is to try to get one of those few teams. I think it's the top 5 teams this year actually get a first round bye in the Conference USA tournament into the quarterfinals. So your goal right now is just to steadily keep improving until then, get a bye, and just win 3 games. Get to the tournament. Because if you do that, Darian, do we even care about what happened, up to now? Not really,
No,
because you still accomplished your goal. Your goal is to get back to win the conference tournament and get back to the big dance.
right.
So, and this team has the talent to do this. Like, if they can just continue to put it all together, number one, they're going to need Jelly back. I hope to goodness that Jelly's back this Saturday. I was pretty sure he wasn't going to play at middle. I figured they would hold him just a few more days to rest him up as much as possible to get ready for the big matchup Saturday in Bartow against North Texas. But they're going to need him back on that court because we've seen without Jelly on the court, even with his struggling as of late, he's been in a little funk. But even with that, like without having that threat on the court, like teams were able to kind of guard UAB really well.
Yeah.
So
And so on both of those fronts of as far as let me just clarify real quick as far as like it wasn't me attacking the coaching staff. It was just us trying to what are we trying to accomplish versus like you can get a play in,
yeah,
but the play has to be able to get the plays. The reason for getting a play in is to get a certain player in a certain position. So you want a player to be in their sweet spot
right.
in order to work. So like I said, is it getting Jelly a mismatch on a slow-footed center? It might just be a top of the key pick and roll, and maybe that center can't keep up, and because he's playing off, so he doesn't want to switch. So if you get a good solid pick on the guard, you can attack. I'm thinking of that big 7-foot center Russian guy that was from FAU. Think of him.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to the top of the key and you're able to get a good solid screen with Trey, and even if the guard fends it off, just do it again. Just do it. I would just screen again over and over because that 7-foot center guy is way too slow-footed to keep up with Jelly, and he's gonna play off. Jelly can pull up from anywhere. Bam! You know what you're trying to accomplish in that scenario. But for a lot of guys on the team, I just don't know what we're able to accomplish. Put it that way. I still don't know what.
You're right, though. It goes back to the identity,
what
you just like the identity thing. It goes right back to what you said earlier. Like I agree 100%.
Right. So, and I do think the coaching staff did a good job of getting Ty in his sweet spot. He's very good on those mid-range jumper. He gets good elevation. It's a sweet stroke from that spot. That was a good job. Like, hey, that is one thing we can go to in this. And like I said, I think we can go to Javian Davis on the low post. I think we got Ty Brewer in the mid-range. I think we got Ladarius Brewer as a secondary playmaker. But other than that, Eric does things, but I don't know what is his thing. Mm-hmm. Like he's an athlete. He finishes at the rim sometimes he hit threes. Sometimes he make those good passes, but sometimes he make those passes like, what you doing?
Right.
It's such a mixed bag, and I do feel like it's on the coaching staff to kind of help him figure out his game. Just let's help him offensively, and then I think that'll fuel him defensively, because I think everybody came into the season thinking that he was just going to be this lockdown defender. But in reality, what has happened was he's been kind of taken advantage of because his size. He's good at getting in the lanes and getting steals. Mm-hmm. But as a one-on-one defender, if you get a bigger guy on him that can kind of, barbecue chicken him. He gets a little too small sometimes, but as far as like the tournament and wins and losses and what that means, how much does almost count? Well, this is basketball. This isn't football.
Right.
So in football, all of those losses are like daggers in the heart. Mm-hmm. Like it means. So I'm not saying that it doesn't mean the same in basketball, but what were the odds of us being a 2-bid league anyway? That was something we were really shooting for, but so the reality of the situation is in basketball almost does count. almost does count because it shows the steady improvement. At this point,
Right.
it's process of results at this point. The results will follow, but if we can find that identity for Eric, if we can find that identity for Tony, if we can get Taven loving his
Lavon. What the announcer
Lavon,
say? Lavon. I say, golly.
if we can get his magical powers back from the Munstars that stole him,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, if we get all of that back, if we can find a way to mix our ingredients.
Yeah.
Because we are close, like you said, almost. How much does almost counts? It counts a lot. Now in football, you kind of don't want to hear it because it's like, dude, it's over with. Like what are we playing for? That's how football is. That's the nature of the beast. But we still got this whole tournament left. And the thing about it is, I still think we are at least on par with being. I feel like personally, and this is my bias showing. Personally, I feel like we're still the most talented in the conference by just an individual talent by talent basis.
I agree.
I think we're somewhere at the bottom as far as in getting that talent to mix.
Yeah.
The sweet thing about that is it's correctable. One thing that I seen over this time, and he kind of kills it because he got a tick. But I have I've been looking at Eric's body language a lot. And I remember telling you in the beginning, we were sitting there watching the game. I was like, man, every time it just seemed like his body language is like he fussing with assistant coaches, like players always have to pick him up. I can't say these last couple of games, this is the most positive. Somebody must have had to talk to him, and he's made a conscious effort. Just check him out during the games. He doesn't look like how he used to.
Yeah, he's gotten better.
He's gotten much better now. He got the tick the other day now, and KJ got the tick too. And ironically, both of those ticks ended up costing us the game in a sense.
Right. But looking at those ticks though, like you look at what Gaines. I mean, I guess the ref could have. I mean, he ended up calling it. I guess you can call it, but like Gaines was away from the ref. He was just over there with Andy Kennedy, and he was just kind of venting about his frustration. Kind of threw his hand up, and the ref walks by and just tees him up automatically. Like, come on, man, you can't have soft skin as a ref like that. Come on, now KJ on the other hand, mouthing off like to the opponent, like okay, yeah, I can see you getting teed up. Like he's gotten teed up before, doing the same thing. So
yeah, so both of those guys, emotionally, they've been teed up a couple times this year, and they've had problems with emotions. And I wonder if they have a reputation that's kind of following them at this point. But yeah, let's start with that game. Like that game was horribly real.
Okay, God.
Horrible.
Okay. Yes, it was pretty bad. Now, granted, this isn't the reason UAB lost the game. UAB had ample opportunities to put Middle Tennessee away and win this game.
But that being said,
the officiating was terrible. And I caught Andy Kennedy post game, and he said that on that last where the block on Trey Jemison that the ref said that he had all ball. I was like, come on now, man.
All arm.
All arm, like really barely got a piece of the ball. Like really just hit his arm all the way. Like I don't see how that wasn't called. There were a couple other ones that, I was frustrated we didn't get it called because but that we'd go around the other end and barely touch them, and then they'd call it on UAB. But I mean, that's college basketball. You're not going to get calls on, especially away from home at another team's gym. You're not going to get a lot of those calls. But I do agree. I think that might have been the worst officiated game this year. I think at least
easily.
that I've seen. Yes,
easily, bro. Like. They had a whole bunch of blocks. They had like 3 times the normal amount of blocks they usually have. And they have good shot blockers. They have good athletes. I was really impressed with number 12. I don't even think he was a big. I think he was a wing player. But he had so much versatility to his game, and he could block shots and stuff. But looking back at some of those plays, we were attacking the rim a lot. And it's funny because we did find an identity in the source because we kept on attacking the rim. Right. But we weren't being rewarded with the calls. Like you said, there's a lot of times that it's college basketball. You won't get that whistle, especially being on the road. But God dang, man, it's like, hey, now it's getting getting to that point, and I can understand the players getting frustrated. Even though that over the back call was like a clear over the back. I don't know what KJ was all mad about. But yeah, a lot of those calls, I mean, a lot of that can just be frustration building up, because if you're attacking the rim, and that's what you're told to do in basketball, especially if your shot's not going. You're told to attack the rim, you get to the line, you finish through contact. A lot of those blocks we were getting kind of beat up on.
Yeah.
And it was like obvious fouls. It's kind of like, come on, man, throw us a ball here and there. And it's like it's frustrating because you see the slim margin of error that's available to us. Mm-hmm. And I do know, as I said, process of results at this point, and almost does matter, but you still want that dub. Like, you just want that dub for morale. You want that dub to tell you, to validate that you're going in the right direction. And sometimes when it still ends up in a loss, it's very it can hit your morale. It can lower it, and you can kind of sink your head a little bit, like, dang, I thought we was doing the right thing, you know. So, and I keep on going back to Eric because he's such a polarizing player. Like, I saw him a couple of times, like when he you can tell when he's getting sped up and he's getting out of control.
Mm-hmm.
I saw him a couple of times slow down. He took his breath. I'm like, oh, I see a point guard right there. And a lot of times he was able to get those touches to the bigs. Like you could see him direct traffic, and you see him make a good solid pass to get the ball to where it was intended to go. And I'm like, there we go. Like, it seems so simple, but it's so important because it brings a sense of calm. Because a lot of times what happens when we don't know what we want to do on offense, guys kind of get the running around and we just turn the ball over.
Yep.
Or it's an offensive foul, or it's a horrible shot. Like, why did you shoot that? Like, a couple of times during the game, you can tell some guys was like, I gotta step up, Jelly's not here. Mm-hmm. I'm coming off the screen. Like, oh, you know, I kind of saw Butter Johnson do that yesterday, and it's like we've so used to seeing him be so refined and calm and collected. But he kind of was trying to find his role and kind of forced a couple shots, and he got glued to the bench. You know?
And to be fair to Butter, though, like, especially when Gaines went out with that tech early on, like, Butter had to come in and run point for a long time. He was running point guard for a long time, and I'm like, oh my, like a freshman coming in running point, like at middle. I was like, this. I mean, all things considered, I think he did pretty good. I mean, you know, the box score doesn't reflect it, but I thought he did a good job. But kind of piggybacking what you were just saying, Darian, about Eric Gaines. How about, you know, you speak of him being calm and collected. How about the poise at the end of regulation to hit those 2 free throws to force overtime? And before that, how about the play from Tony on defense, forcing the steal to get it to Eric Gaines to try to hurry up and put up a shot to get fouled, but sank both of those. In fact, hold on, let me pull that up, because I think did he miss a free throw? No, yeah, 7 of 7 from the free throw line, and that's something for Eric Gaines, and that's something, Darren. You know, we were kind of, you know, questioning him, like, you know, he missed those few free throws against UTEP and a couple other games. We're like, hey man, I thought he was supposed to be a pretty good free throw shooter, but
right.
I mean, he's getting there. Like, you kind of see, you know, as you just mentioned, in points of games, like, it's getting better for Gaines. Like, you see him starting to kind of calm down now. I mean, of course, we still have his moments where he's trying to hurry because he's super fast, like trying to hurry up and get the ball to the rack and just forces a bad turnover or gets blocked or whatever. But I thought at times, especially late in that game, that he did a pretty good job taking care of that ball and, hey, nailing 2 free throws to force overtime.
And this is where almost counts in basketball.
Yes.
This is where almost counts, because it was no semblance of that in the beginning of the year. But now you starting to see it more and more. He's breathing, taking his time, knocking down free throws. He'll get out of control, he'll reset, recalibrate himself. Take his time, let's get into our set. I'm like, wow. Mm-hmm. If he continues to do more of that when Jelly comes back, he can then initiate the offense effectively, not chaotically. Effectively, you know. Right. Okay, no, that you didn't. You didn't get freed up coming off that screen, Jelly. Run back around, stagger screen, come back around this way. Up. They're focused on Jelly right there. There's Ladarius Brewer, open shot. Like he may be able. I think when he's calmed down, he can see those things instead of pressing. Let me try to make a play. You know, I think his game requires more mental fortitude than what he thought it did. And so now mentally, when that game starts to slow down and you start to figure out who you are, that's when you can use those gifts more. I think I told you, like when I played football, I was undersized, but the thing about me was I was able to play so much faster and so much quicker because soon as he started saying the play in the huddle, I'm already going over different fronts. If they're in this front, I know what to do. I done practiced this. I done watch film. I know your tendencies. I know what you're gonna do before you know what you're gonna do. So now I know what I'm trying to accomplish. I'm stepping there. I'm cutting you off. I'm doing whatever I need to do. I know how you're gonna react. I know if you're a bull rush guy. I know if you're a counter guy. The thing is, the size, it minimized my weakness. Like I really didn't have a weakness in that sense because you couldn't take advantage of it. You know, because mentally, if you're that far ahead, then you're good. If Eric mentally gets his game down, and we've been seeing flashes of that, I think that's the most important part. Tony on offense, we can play him more. We can put him in the game more because on offense, I still don't know. As far as I love his energy, I love his hustle, his grit. You know, defensively, what he's going to try to give you. But offensive is still important. To like when you're running your set, hey, what are you going to do? You know, are the defense going to just lag off of you? You know, you got to be more than just an athlete. And if you are going to be, you know, mostly an athlete, you need to be cutting like Quan Jackson did on offense. Quan used to have a tendency to cut at the right time, right place. You know, get to the rack, you need to finish through contact. Like, if that's going to be your role, it can be your role. But, you know, only guys I think on offense that, even Jelly, you know, let's get to Jelly. Even Jelly, like, he gets the pressing. He presses, and then, you know, then it's a bad shot that he put up. No, Jelly ain't got to press. You are Jelly Walker. His magic ability is at his size, he can create space. But if he starts to press, he's going to just take the first shot available. And that may be a bad shot. No, Jelly, just reset. Give it to Eric. Give it to somebody. Probably run off a screen. Oh, let somebody else eat. Let them get into a rhythm of the game. Take some pressure off of yourself. You got teammates to help you. Let them get that game going. Get KJ Buffin going downhill. Like, let's let everybody, okay, now you step back and you do your thing. Now you find a mismatch. You know what I'm saying? Cross him up. Guess what? Trey Jemison is on the small game. Let him do his thing. Let the big fella flex his muscles. You know, because he can do some of that. You know what I'm saying? Just not often, but he can do it. You know, so I'm looking at process now. I'm excited about some of the things that I see, and hopefully we're able to. I'm not going to be excited if we're not building off of it.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
But yeah, I'm excited to see what we do with it, and I've been seeing glimpses of it. Hopefully the guys have gained confidence from it, from seeing that they can get the ball in their spots. Hopefully this has been a good experience from Jelly to watch on the sidelines, and I don't know where he fits.
Did you notice, like, they cut to it on the broadcast a few times, like you could see him like encouraging the team, like during timeouts and stuff. I loved seeing that. I
saw him calming down KJ.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was good. That was good leadership. I was seeing him get in there and tell him it's okay. And I saw KJ kind of calm down. Like, you know, that was good leadership. You're right.
Definitely. Well, guys, you know, UAB still has 12 games left in Conference USA before the tournament in Frisco. So right now, sitting 4-4 in CUSA play, sitting right at 5th place in the standings, 3.5 games back behind FAU, 13-6 overall. But the overall record really doesn't matter anymore. 4-4 in CUSA, 12 games left. How much does almost count? Darian alluded to it earlier. If UAB can build on this and start to see wins, some more wins, and build that thing up to the peak right at Conference USA tournament time and just get 3 wins to go to the big dance, that should be the goal going forward for this UAB team. And they can do it. Like, all these things that we've been addressing these last few weeks, they are fixable. And you can already see that, hey, Andy Kennedy and the staff's already fixed some of those things. They just kind of need to fine tune a couple more things and put it all together and get some dubs, get the confidence going. And the sky's the limit for this team. Now, I don't know if they're going to go like a Final Four like we said before the season, but hey, this team most definitely can get to the NCAA tournament by winning 3 games in the conference tournament and just see what happens from there. But it starts this Saturday night as a really good North Texas team comes to Bartow, 3 o'clock. It's going to be televised on Stadium if you can't make it out to Bartow Arena, but I definitely hope that we see a lot of green and gold in that arena come Saturday afternoon. And Darren, if they can beat this North Texas team Saturday afternoon, because that right now, standing wise, that's the second best team right now is North Texas. Now they lost to FAU twice, so right now FAU kind of sits at the top. But if you can beat North Texas, get that confidence going again, I mean, we just have to wait and see. But this team can do some damage.
Right. I think the answer to our question is going to be, the only thing we're going to see if they did build off of it, if almost counted, is going to be conference tournament time. But one thing I'm going to be looking for is like right before the conference tournament, you just alluded to it, like building up. Can we get like a blowout or two?
Yes.
Going into that's gonna to me, in order to get blowouts, that's like everybody kind of knowing where they're at offensively and defensively what they're supposed to do. And once you have a team that's locked in like that, that's when you're able to kind of put your foot on the team's throat and keep it there and apply pressure. That's what good teams do. They close you out. Good teams don't let you back in, make it a tight game, make you second guess yourself, not know what you want to do. I think that's the game plan. Now, if I was in the conference, I would be saying, hey, just get UAB just to survive into the last 7 minutes. And then we got them, because then that's when they second guess themselves. No, when you become a good team, you're like, what? Oh, I know what to do. I know what sets I can go to. Y'all can't stop that. So leading up to the conference tournament, whatever the results are right now, I just want to see the process. Those last 3 games, can we win by 19, 21?
It'd be nice.
Then because hey, listen, if we can go into the conference tournament and just start, whooping some, in the conference tournament, all of this have been worth it.
Definitely.
So this is why we asked the question to you, and we'll leave it with y'all. How much does almost count? The context matters here.
How much does almost count? All right, guys. Darren and I will be back next week to recap what happens against North Texas. But Darren, you want to go and close this out?
Blades of Nation, let's ride.